people have this wrong when it comes to variable aperture in video. Now, a lot of folks think that because the aperture changes throughout the focal length in a variable aperture lens, that you can't use it for video. But I'm going to tell you that in this video, a lot of people have that wrong, specifically when it comes to the Tamron 25-200 f2.8 to 5.6 E-mount lens. And the big thing about that is dual ISO. So for the past month, I've been using the Tamron 25-200 across 3 of my Sony bodies. One is the Sony A7S III, the second is the Sony A7C II, the third is the Sony FX30. And because of dual native ISO, it's pretty much eliminated the issue with variable aperture, and we'll jump into that in detail. Before we get into this video, Tamron did send this lens out along with the 16-30 f2.8 for me to make an honest and transparent video. If you're new around here, I always make an honest and transparent consumer buyer focused review, just giving you enough information so that you can make an educated decision and in a real user workflow. And so Tamron sent this out, but I've actually already sent these lenses back. And so this is my long-term review of using the Tamron 25-200 for video. So what is dual ISO? Dual ISO is basically light sensitivity in the camera sensor. And Sony bodies have basically 2 different levels where it switches circuitry for average light environments, like where you have, controlled lighting, you're outside and different stuff like that. You're going to use that lower base ISO, which for my Sony A7S III is 800. But then when it's nighttime or you don't have a key light or you don't have, controlled lighting environment and you need more light to go into the sensor, it's going to switch circuits basically, and it's going to go up to 12,800. And what that's going to provide you is low noise, great contrast, good dynamic range and saturation all throughout the focal length. And so that's an easy understanding of what that is. It's basically the sensitivity of the light to the sensor, and Sony bodies have 2. But the real test is, can this lens stack up against fast-moving sports where you're having to move in and out of focal length while in a varying, changing lighting environment? So let's talk about that and how I deal with that. It's the real life scenarios, right? So the way that I use my cameras very often is sports, and it's live, fast-paced action sports, and you can't always control the environments. I also use my cameras for talking heads and interviews and photography and, YouTube reviews and all of the good things all in between. There was one thing I told you earlier that you still have to do in order to make sure that your lighting isn't changing on your video. And this is the controversial thing because some people don't like it, and that is locking your aperture at 5.6, which is the lowest level aperture that doesn't flex as you go through the focal length. So even when I have the wide focal length at 25 millimeters, I was still using 5.6 when using video. And the reason I did that is so that as I went from your 25 out to like your 50, the aperture didn't change from that 2.8 out to 5.6 as you got further out or I guess tighter in the focal length. Now, some people don't like higher f-stops like your 5.6 when you have something like a 2.8 available. But what I will say is that when using this for street photography and video or sports video and landscape, etc., that's not really a big deal because you want more of the environment being shown. So if I was doing sports such as basketball, I don't want to just lock in on the player that I'm following. I also want to see the defense that is guarding that person, the basket up in the air, the help side defender, the teammate that he's passing to, the whole court, etc. Whatever that looks like, I was going to be shooting at 5.6 or 6.3 or 8 anyway. And then when doing landscape photography or videography, the same thing. I don't want to just lock in on the light pole. I want to actually see the street, the people walking, the buildings, etc. out. And so 5.6 is not a problem. And so that is a common myth or misunderstanding that when you first start photography and videography, yeah, you might sit at 2.8 or 1.9 or 1.4, but as you begin to be more and more experienced and more skilled, 4, 5.6, 6.3, and 8 starts to become the norm because you start to have a different eye for the things that you're looking at. Of course, that shallow depth of field and that one person in focus is amazing. Right now, I'm using a TT Artisan's 40mm at f2.0 on my Blackmagic Cinema 6K to get this look and then kind of blur out the background. But as you get more and more skilled, you know, that is an artistic choice versus a necessity. Let us know in the comment section below if you've ever struggled with variable aperture lenses, or if you have a fear of variable aperture lenses and why you might have those thoughts, or your experiences just in general. Drop them in the comment section below. And now let's talk about why I think this is really good for video. Here is my Sony A7S III with my Tamron 35-150. So let me reprogram your expectations. The biggest thing on the 25-200 is its size. It's small, it's lightweight, it's portable, and it's extremely versatile, from a wide 25mm all the way to a tight and very far 200mm. And then you add the APS-C or Super 35 mode on your Sony bodies, and you go out even further. So you're getting 25 to basically a 300 range on your Sony bodies, which is phenomenal amount of range from a lens that small. I was able to put my Sony A7S III, my Sony A7C II, or my Sony FX30, one of those bodies, in my 8 liter sling bag from Nomadic, along with the 16-30mm f2.8 from Tamron. That is the true versatility of the lens, the size, the focal range. It's a Tamron lens, so it looks really good. So at the end of the day, I was prepared to shoot no matter what I was shooting. Can the Tamron 25-200 replace some of your primes as a video lens? To me, the absolute answer is yes. Pair it with a dual ISO Sony body, because it's a Tamron E-mount lens, and you'll have no problems whatsoever. As always, you got to understand your shooting environments and what type of content you're shooting, and adjust accordingly. But I definitely think that there's no problem for this being a video focused lens, even though it may be designed more so for photography. But if you've had a fear of using a variable aperture lens, I think you can put that to bed if you're using this with a Sony body. And I think that was my biggest message that I wanted to share with you, because for years I ran away from variable aperture lenses. And as I get ready to pack up and get ready to go out to Las Vegas for NAB, I'm actually missing that lens, because I don't want to travel with my 35-150 because of its size, but I would definitely take that 25-200, but I had to send it back. So let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. And if you have any other suggestions or any other lenses that I should try, put that in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy today's content, consider subscribing, hit that subscribe button below and join the Cosey Coalition. But as always, stay cozy in that crazy world, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.